Hello everyone and welcome back to my Let's Play of Hiveswap Friendsim. Last time we met Marsty, a burgundy blood who is very fixated on cleaning things, though she doesn't seem to enjoy it very much. In the good ending, we ran into Follicle and Marsty gave her some advice regarding her void rot, and we thought that maybe Marsty might have an interest in medicine and doctoring and stuff. And we suggested that to her, but she was very adamant against it, saying that there's basically no chance she could ever become a medic. And she sort of resigned to her position as a janitor for life. Which is disappointing, but our character just let it go, and I don't know if we actually became friends. It was really weird, because she was sort of hostile to us for most of the route, but I liked her. Anyway, now we have to go make friends with a very tiny purple blood. Yes, this person. Karako Pierot. I think that's how you pronounce that. I think that's an actual word. It's like French for clown or something. I don't know. But they have a bunch of knives, and they have a bunch of cans of Faygo strapped to them like a bunch of... What is that like? I have the image in my head, but I don't know what it is exactly. Like a thing of grenades, maybe? I don't know. Also, their horns are painted too, that's cool. They're pretty cute, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, Karako, how are you? Having learned the dangers of using public thoroughfares, you've taken to dodging down byways and skulking in rear areas, trying to spy out individuals who look ripe for friendship while avoiding the more criminally insane denizens. Just now, you're following a winding footpath through the undergrowth surrounding a neighborhood where the local hives are spaced far apart. You came creeping along this footpath for safety. You should have known better. The undergrowth here is like most of the other life forms on Alternia, evolved to ruthlessly purge the gene pool of the weak and the reasonable. This is a very pretty background, by the way. I love the colors. Coiled, spring-loaded stalks with foot-long thorns flank writhing bushes and with razor-edged leaves, which in turn crowd tentacled flora with toothed lobes oozing liquid that hisses and smokes when it touches the ground. Is Karako going to be like a wilderness survival expert or something? Extreme caution is needed, just as it's needed in every circumstance on this planet. While your time on Artonia has gotten you accustomed to injuries, you still shrink from being impaled on sprung thorns and dissolved in acid. You should have known that eventually you would have to come up against the local flora, so you proceed discreetly, avoiding poison fronds and trying not to step on trigger roots. But suddenly your vegetative focus is interrupted. You hear footsteps on the path, and then around the corner comes a small figure. You are a cutie, oh my goodness. Of course, there's honks in the music. Its face and horns are painted with smudged black and white marks. Despite its diminutive physique, it has some of the most impressive horns you've seen on a troll. Your horns are pretty cool. Oh! Then the small figure sees you too, and is so startled it jumps a foot, impaling its horns on overhanging tree branches sticking there so its small legs can pump helplessly in the air. Honk! You beg the small person's pardon and assure him that you were fully as startled as he. You go on to explain that you are not dangerous, but that even if you were, you would not want to come to strife with even a small person with horns of that size. Honk? Yes, you will be happy to help him down as long as he promises not to attack you with the many bladed weapons that are stuffed into his belt, or the dozen cans of an inexpensive soft drink held in bandoliers crossing his chest. Can he only say honk? It strikes you suddenly that a neighborly gesture, like helping someone whose horns are stuck in a tree branch, can scarcely fail to kindle the light of friendship. You dare to hope that this will be the case now. Edging forward, you get close enough to see that around the small clown's neck hangs a dog tag or ID necklace. You tilt your head and crane your neck to read the writing on it. Karako Pierot, if lost, call Branya or Sama. Is this like Branya's charge? Suddenly this all makes sense. This Karako Pierot must have been one of Branya's reject runt wrigglers who, having grown to childhood under her tender care, has gone out into the world to seek his fortune. That would account for his small size, short legs, and the small stature relative to his horns. You eagerly pull out your palm husk, happy for an excuse to pester your old friend. But you've got zero signal out here. You wonder if the surrounding vegetation eats palm husk signals, just as it looks like it eats your everything else. You disappointedly slip your palm husk back into your pocket. Honk. You apologize for the delay, explaining that you were surprised to find that you appear to have an acquaintance in common, whom you hope you will have time to discuss later. For now you are ready, willing, and hopefully able to help him down. You hope you won't be offended if you slip behind him first. It's not that you object to bladed weapons or those who stuff dozens of them in their belts, but you feel that the ones he's wearing could ruin your look if buried in your torso, however unintentionally. You edge past the weapons, being careful also not to touch the spring thorns growing at the edge of the path or their trigger roots. Once you're behind Karako, you grasp his horns firmly and pull, withdrawing them from the tree branch and allowing him to drop lightly onto the ground. Honk! You tell him that he's very welcome. Then there's a moment of awkward silence as you try to think of something else to say. Fortunately, your new potential friend is not as devoid of the social graces as you are and gets the conversational ball rolling himself. Honk? You explain that you are indeed a stranger in these parts and that you actually don't fit into any of the hemospectrum categories. Wild, right? He is absolutely adorable. Oh my goodness. Help. Although not as strange as you used to be, you like to think, you're really starting to blend in with the local color. Honk? Well, you'd rather not exhibit your blood just now. You're a couple of quarts low. Oh my goodness. Do we have any blood left? You're a couple of quarts low due to the robust conditions of life on Eternia, some of which you have recently had the honor of encountering. Honk. You sympathize. Slinking along these hidden paths in the Eternian woods can be rough on the morale. The smell alone is enough to make strong men weep, and the vegetation looks like it was designed by the Marquise de Sade? I don't know what that is. Not that he knows who the Marquise de Sade is. I don't either, friend. You can't help but feel that it would be so much better if one only had a skulk buddy, you continue. How wonderful it would be to travel these dusky lanes with a kindred spirit, a twin soul, a fellow traveler, an intimate crony. You're such an expert on Friendsim by now. Honk? No, you haven't met anyone like that either, but you would certainly like to. Your new potential friend is obviously thinking seriously about this issue, so you back off, give him space. You pretend to be deeply immersed in studying one of the razor-sharp leaves on one of the writhing bushes beside the path. You aren't one to force yourself on others or try to unduly influence their friendship decisions. Okay, well, maybe you forced yourself on others in the past and tried to influence their friendship decisions. Maybe you've even done this a lot, but you've recently evolved as a person. You now know that friendship is something that has to come authentically from within. Friendship is spontaneous. Real friendship sprouts naturally from the soil of mutual respect. The best friendships grow and ripen over years and are not rushed or forced. Of course, you've only known this small person for about 5 minutes, but you have to start ripening sometime. You're reflecting thus on the theme of friendship when a loud pours suddenly from the sky above you. It's a crackling, sizzling sound like a chitinous thing with too many legs struggling in a hot frying pan. Karako jumps so violently that he nearly gets his horn stuck in the tree again. Looking up, you see a floating metal object, vaguely troll-shaped, but huge, faceless metal and with numerous sets of lightning bolt-shaped horns coming out of its head and neck. It's also not a very sparkling conversationist. It remarks in a flat, echoing blare. It elaborates further. I can't make that noise, I'm sorry. Honk! Leap to your proto-friend's aid. You leap to your proto-friend's aid. Thinking quickly, you push Karako against a large rock that juts out of the undergrowth nearby and jump in front of him, shielding him from the drone with your body. You then pretend to be leaning against the rock in an attitude of tranquil repose. Several of the bladed weapons in Karako's belt poke you in the ass, but you don't let this show on your face. Instead, you lawn elaborately and check your wristwatch. You don't have a wristwatch, but you don't think drones know what a wristwatch is anyway. You pretend to smoke a non-existent cigarette. Again, you're not giving anything away because drones don't know what cigarettes are either. But the drone apparently has taken an interest in you. It floats down between the trees and undergrowth and hovers above the path several meters from where you're pretending to relax against a rock after a long day of hiking through scenic shit-smell forest. It's quite a terrifying sight, actually, the drone observes solacely, making Karako jump so that several of your internal organs are threatened. However, you maintain what you believe the local populace would call a stiff upper whistle pillow. The drone's blank metal head studies you, or it could be studying something in the opposite direction, or even taking the drone equivalent of a piss. You can't really tell from its expression because it has no features to make expressions with. This examination or non-examination continues for some time. But your diminutive potential friend is well hidden from view, and after a while, evidently concluding that you are an inanimate object that makes uncomfortable gestures with its wrists and fingers, the drone floats upward again, gaining speed until with a jury it whizzes off somewhere to find other hapless, non-standard citizens to euthanize. When it's gone, you stand away from the rock and rub several sore places that have been pierced by bladed weapons. You turn to Karako to comment on the recent fervor, but stop when you see the look he is directing at you. A warm and admiring look. An affectionate and esteeming look. A look of friendship. Your first impulse is to throw your arms around him and lean in, but on a second thought, remembering his pants arsenal, you pull out of the hand for a warm handshake. Victory is so close. But before you can seal the deal on the sweet friendship, transaction hear disturbance further down the path. God, can't the narrative chill for one single moment, especially a moment when you're about to consummate a beautiful friendship? You turn to look. The footsteps, several sets of them, get near, and around the bend comes 3 figures. 3 figures wearing swimming outfits, lots of gold jewelry, and insouciant expressions. 3 figures with gills on their necks and small stylized fins on their face. Oh man, is it possible you finally happened upon a group of the legendary sea dwellers? They stop just short when they see you and Karako, obviously startled. They study you. You study them. Then Finhead Interloper 1, in a one-piece and diamond earrings, whispers to her companions, and all three burst out laughing. Finhead Interloper 2, in a violet wetsuit and rings, slaps her thigh, and Finhead Interloper 3, in a checkered swimming trunks, holds the size. Parts of you is relieved. Laughter drives out the devil, is the best medicine, and in any event is better than homicidal mania. On the other hand, this laughter isn't friendly. It's cold, mocking, and supercilious. These sea dwellers are obviously laughing at you, not with you. You notice Karako's cheeks flushing purple under his face paint and his jaws clenching. However, he just stares with stony dignity at the interlopers. This just makes them laugh harder. The first sea dweller says, "What are you two supposed to be?" "Shrimp Cassidy and the Squamous Kid," says her second companion. "A cold-bait minnow and his mutated soft-shell crab," says her third. "Looks like the minimal one went down on the clown, causing it to spurt out the other one." The sea dweller's laughter is redoubled. You continue expressionless at these insults, but to your dismay, Karako's face is taking a harsh, glowering look. You guess that such a tiny dude has probably been victimized by bullies his whole life. And as you happen to know, there are no bullies like Alternian bullies. Honk. You tell him to let them talk all the shit they want. Don't let them provoke him. They're trying to get him to do something stupid. If he doesn't react, they'll get bored and go away. Honk. No, remember that drone? It's probably still around here somewhere. Touch a scale on their heads and you can be rendered into mother grub feedstock. Hey, bottom feeders, no whispering when you're in the presence of your bathers. And you, little boy, put a respectful expression on your recognition service. Be more like your friend, the slender manatee over there. In fact, why is it you two are still porpoindicular in the presence of sea dwellers? You should be bowed at right anglers. Too many fish puns, come on. The first sea dweller seems to have an affinity for cheesy ocean puns. You bow to the sea dwellers. You have your dignity, but you also like not getting killed. Oh, he is pissed. All that high blood rage coming out. Karako remains stubbornly upright, his face getting angry and purpler by the moment. The bladed weapons in his belt jingle from his enraged trembling. Oh, see the little clownfish? He's getting angry. Looks like he's gonna shit his pants. What'd I teach you about your face, boy? What'd I tell you about your face, boy? Didn't your Lucis teach you anything? I doubt he even has a Lucis. A self-respecting Lucis would never let shrimp like that out of the hive. Unless this Lucis is just as defective. The Lucis cracks are too much for Karako. Ignoring your hissed warnings, he suddenly leaps snarling into the air, draws bladed weapons from his belt in each hand, and hurtles towards the sea dwellers. Honk! Honk! Leap into the fray and lend comfort and support. You leap into the fray to lend comfort and support. You would have counseled Karako to turn the other cheek and keep turning cheek after cheek until the sea dwellers got fed up and went away, but now that things have hotted up, you're not about to let down the side. Karako crashes into the sea dwellers, his bladed weapons whirling like a blender. You scamper close behind him and kick someone in the shin. It hurts your foot, but doesn't seem to have any other effect. These sea dwellers are made of tough stuff, or you're extremely flimsy. Signs have recently pointed to the latter. Your next sortie is more effective, however. Thinking quickly, you pick up a rock and throw it at the trigger root of a spring thorn growing along the path, next to where the violet bloods are enduring Hurricane Clown. The coiled stalk springs out, impaling the dude with a dozen foot-long thorns. He's thrown off balance and violet blood begins to flow copiously down his body. That's a hue you haven't seen before. Kinda pretty. But these sea dwellers are made of tough stuff. He yanks the spring thorn stalk away from him, pulling the thorns out, and flings it into the woods. Then he takes a pocket handkerchief and starts patting his injuries gently. Meanwhile, Karako's blade weapons have not been idle, and the other two sea dwellers are likewise leaking violet blood. But these bastards are hard to kill. You remember Polypa telling you that. As you watch, one of them grabs one of the blade weapons from Karako's hand and buries it in Karako's stomach. No! My boy! This, unsurprisingly, is a distraction for a poor low clown, allowing two of the finny sons of bitches to grab handfuls of blade weapons from his belt and bury them in various parts of his body. You dance around delivering harmless kicks and curses. I'm still optimistic because it's very hard to kill a clown, so... Oh, he's not doing great. Karako is still waving his weapons, but he seems to be waving them more slowly now. Then, as more and more bladed weapons are buried in his body, he seems to lose focus. The weapons he's been brandishing fall from his hands. Finally, he falls to the ground in the center of a spreading pool of purple blood, twitches feebly for a minute, and then is still. You stare in disbelief at the corpse of one who, if he had been spared just a short while longer, would have been your friend. One despised and rejected, a clown of suffering familiar with pain. They'd flogged him and mocked him and spit on him, and then killed him. You struggle to come to terms with this. While you're doing that, one of the remaining sea dwellers grabs you by the hair and suplexes you onto the ground. Your head snaps back and pain explodes behind your eyes. You're left lying on your back and trying to stay conscious, which is why you have a good view of what happens next. In the dark sky above you, something opens, something even darker than the sky. A hole, like a cave in the clouds. What is happening? It widens until you can see that in the cave, a carousel with wooden horses mounted on brass posts rotates, the horses plunging up and down in time with carnival music played by a mechanical organ. Riding the horses are naked store window mannequins. That's not how you spell mannequin. Their legs slung awkwardly along the horses' backs, their stiff arms down by their sides in whatever pose they were created, their horns huge and wildly shaped. In the darkness above the carousel, other naked mannequins with plastic wings tied to their backs are supported on wires, and hanging above these, in turn, a net of white Christmas tree lights twinkle against the roof of the dark cave or circus tent or whatever it is, throwing their dim starlight illumination down onto the rotating carousel. As you watch, two of the winged mannequins break loose from their wires and fly down from that dark region into the night sky in the dimension Arturnia occupies. What the heck is happening? This is obviously like some clown cult thing going on, but what? They maneuver until the stiff hands on the ends of their stiff arms are underneath Karako, and then they lift him up into the sky and into the Dark Carnival. So that's clown heaven, right? You hear a last faint reviving honk as they set him down on one of the wooden horses, and the hole in the sky closes and there's nothing but the night sky above you. All is silent and still again. An odd feeling comes over you. You don't think you've ever felt such a feeling, just the reality of how utterly insignificant you are. Sure, you spent the last few months wandering with no desire but the desire for connection, and you are, in a way, a being unique in this galaxy. But honestly, what does that even mean? You flit in and out of people's lives, and they're there one minute, gone the next, always moving from friend to friend. You are, for all intents and purposes, a virtual non-entity, a bland point of view vector, a neutral second-person narrator, barely coming into the picture, a retiring entity expressing only a simple one-dimensional desire for friendship. But just about now, you feel that things have gone pretty far. And just about now, you feel that you've had about enough. Enough of arrogant high-bloods. Enough, in fact, of short-wavelength chemotypes carelessly and without compunction killing and maiming and exploiting those of longer wavelengths. Of a survival of the fittest regime that seems to come down to survival of the most violent psychopaths. Is this a moral universe or is it not, you ask yourself? Are repulsive cruelty and sickening evil punished in this universe or are they not? Does an ethical force operate in this universe or does it not? You don't know the answer to these questions, but you do know one thing. You intend to depart for once from your one-dimensional persona. You intend to punish repulsive cruelty and sickening evil if it comes within your ability to do so. You intend to create an ethical force field in your local region. You intend to exert some moral gravity right around where you are if you personally can. And you realize that this odd feeling you are having seems to be drawing moral Higgs bosons out of the moral ground state, and right out of the fabric of this multicolored blood-soaked plant that heaves under your feet. You take on the aspect of Clown Sarker. Seizing 2 cans of inexpensive soft drink from where they fell from Karako's bandoliers, you shake them and pull the pins. Then, with malice aforethought, you direct the twin streams at sea dwellers. You smell banana and strawberry as the deadly streams play upon them. Already weakened, they fall back with cries under the withering onslaught. As soon as the streams slacken, you take up 2 more cans, shake them, and deal out with death to the unrighteous. You smell peach and diet root beer this time, but no pity softens your heart. You wouldn't care even if it were pineapple watermelon you're spraying on these brutes. But these pinheads are made of tough stuff. Rallying even in the face of this intense onslaught, they push forward and, seizing some bladed weapons from the purple blood pool, advance upon you. Not one step back. You vow to the memory of Karako Pierot. You stand your ground in desperation, grabbing some cans of diet tonic water and club soda and opening up your batteries once again. But to no avail. A trident pierces you to the bone, followed by a scimitar, a tomahawk, a short spear, and so many other bladed weapons that the sheer weight of them drives you to the ground, where your red, precious blood flows in moderate streams, mixing with the purple blood of your proto-friend. This is the end, you realize. You are glad you died in righteous battle. You're glad you created even the tiny, sputtering, temporary moral force field in your local region that you did. You can feel your life and narrative point of view slipping away, but you are content. Yet, what's that you see above you now? A dark space has opened up, even darker than the night sky, and 2 stiff-looking winged figures are descending. They lay next to you and gently place their stiff hands under you. Then they ascend once again, lifting you higher and higher into the darker space. As you pass the boundary of the heavenly carnival, your life seems to revive within you, and as the fabric of the place closes around you and 2 stiff mannequins place you on a carousel horse next to Karako, you realize that planets, universes, dimensions, realities, powers, principalities, and cosmos come and go, but friendship is forever. Shh, friendship. Was that the good ending? Are we in clown heaven? That was very, very weird. I don't know how I feel about this. I need to see the other endings. Grab him by the coattails and try to keep him from precipitating a disaster. You leap forward and grab Karako by the coattails, or by his belt. You aren't actually sure what a coattail is. Jesus, he's strong. You can barely hold him. It's like trying to restrain a small truck. His legs rotate wildly, kicking up a cloud of dust, and he brandishes his bladed weapons wildly in the direction of the Sea Dwellers. After a startled moment in which they jump backward, the Sea Dwellers have started to laugh again, coming up with more stupid insults and fish puns. This is not helping. Karako runs twice as hard, honks twice as loud, and shakes his weapons twice as threateningly. Hey, hey! You shout at Karako, trying to be heard above the fracas, holding on with all your might and digging in your heels. You have half a mind to just let him go, to pay the Sea Dwellers back for the insults, but you try to keep a cool head. You're doing your proto-friend much more good trying to restrain his wrath. You've now succeeded in wrapping your arms all the way around him, and now you get in front of him, holding him back with straight arms, bellowing soothingly in his face and trying to avoid the bladed weapons he is brandishing. But it's not working. You can see from the contoured features, the bared teeth, and distended nostrils with smoke coming out, the blazing eyes, that Karako is getting more and more enraged. And suddenly his rage seems to reach a kindling point. His body vibrates violently, his eyes grow huge and round. And suddenly from his body, something like a nuclear blast pressure wave of fear and violence sends you flying through the air like a scrap of paper in a gale. What the fuck? Are you hallucinating? Are these the chuckle voodoos? But you can see as you soar up above the path that the Sea Dwellers aren't laughing anymore. In fact, they're screaming in terror and fleeing wildly, blundering into razor leaves, being impaled by spring thorns and burned by pod acid, and generally receiving the stern retribution that awaits assholes. Then your head collides with a tree branch and you are rendered unable to narrate for a while. Hey, he's okay! You wake up lying in the dust. As consciousness returns, you realize that you're lying on the path, and as it returns further, the small clown-painted figure is seated next to you, quite calm now. He smiles fondly as he sees you set up. Honk! You smile in return. You express relief that he realizes you are acting in his best interests, holding him back from the finheads, and now, but largely because of his unexpected burst of clown sorcery or whatever, everything has turned out for the best. Karako holds up his arms for a hug, but then remembering the bladed weapons in his belt, sticks out his hand. You shake it warmly. Yay! We didn't die this time. We made friends with a feral clown child. I'm happy about this. And now, run! A drone! You run in a wild panic. It's a drone! Even the Alternian badasses you've hung out with have been terrified of the drones. Up close, it's one of the most terrifying things you've ever seen, and it's making noises which you didn't know they even did, and which probably mean something sinister. You race at top speed down the twisting path, focusing your senses to their breaking point to avoid trigger roots, razor leaves, and acid pods. At first you hear the pattering of small feet running behind you, but as you redouble your speed, the pattering falls back and after a while is lost in the distance. You sprint for what seems a lifetime before you finally catch your foot on a trigger root and go flying through the air, barely missing being sliced into 100 pieces of tumbling ham by the barbed spring vine that lashes across the path only inches behind you. You land in the dirt, wind knocked out of you, but otherwise unhurt. You lie there catching your breath and waiting, but nothing happens. No enormous metal monster whizzes down the path to impale you. No small clown-faced individual overtakes you on short legs. Finally, after nothing happens, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. You're alone on the path, and no sound of either friend or potential friend or foe can be heard. No birds sing, which is probably good. You imagine that any birds native to this forest would probably sing by croaking up putrid sludge, and the sludge would be poisonous or radioactive. But leaving aside the character of the local fauna, what should you do? Keep on down the path, putting more distance between you and the drone? Or should you go back and see if Karako is okay? You waffle for a while, then decide to go back. You sneak back along the path. You sneak a long, long way. But however far you go, there are no signs of either Karako or the drone. You don't know whether the drone picked Karako up and took him away, or disemboweled him and scoured the remains, or whether Karako leapt into the undergrowth and hid, or escaped, or what. One way or another, you're all alone again on this path through shit-smell forest. Game over. Alrighty. Well. Friendship is forever. You ascended to the Dark Carnival. Or did you? So the other one, the one where we lived, didn't count as the good ending, apparently, because it doesn't have a thing here. Huh. What do I say about this? Karako's cute. He's like a little feral wild child. Also, he's got chuckle voodoos, apparently, which is nice. But what the heck was going on with the whole Dark Carnival thing? Like, it was never implied that, like... I mean, it was their religion, of course, but it was never implied that it was, like, an actual place that, like, Purple Bloods ascended to after death. So that's new. It's very bizarre. I don't know what I think about it. I don't know. It's very strange. It came out of nowhere, kind of. Because, I mean, if there is an afterlife, then what about the dream bubbles and all that? So, I don't know, this raises a lot of questions. I need to think about them for a while. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!